Hey everybody, Olive here. Today I'm doing my birthday book haul. During my last haul, I said that I was going to cut back on acquiring new books, and I am a filthy, filthy liar. Another way that I'm a filthy, filthy liar is by saying that this is exclusively a birthday book haul. These are all the books that I've acquired since my last haul, but I wasn't exactly thrilled about putting books I've acquired since my last haul plus books I acquired for my birthday haul in the title. So we're just gonna call it a birthday book haul. This haul is so epic that it has to be split into two parts. There have been a ton of library book sales. I have frequented a lot of used bookstores all over my area. I've received books as gifts. I bought books as gifts for myself because that's the kind of gift I like. So there are a lot of books. I once again have broken them down by genre. I find that that works really well. In this first section, I'm going to talk about historical fiction, classics and books related to classics, nonfiction, and miscellaneous. And then in the other section of the book haul, I will be talking about just general fiction as well as science fiction and fantasy books. Normally, I probably would have swapped those categories around for part one and part two, but I really wanted to get to the nonfiction books in this part, seeing as Nonfiction November starts this Sunday, November 1st. I wanted to present the nonfiction books that I have acquired since my last haul to maybe give people some ideas about what they could pick up for Nonfiction November. Since we're talking about nonfiction, let's just start off with the nonfiction books I've acquired. The first book I picked up was Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. This is about the World's Fair that took place in Chicago in 1893. It also covers a serial killer. I was listening to this one on audiobook, but I have been having a little bit of an audiobook slump. I can't stay focused. I knew I wasn't going to be able to finish the audiobook before it had to be returned to my library. And I saw this for 25 cents at a thrift shop, so I picked it up. The next book is The Signal and the Noise, Why So Many Predictions Fail and Some Don't by Nate Silver. Nate Silver is a statistician. He famously predicted the results of the 2012 election almost down to exact figures. So he has been very followed and very well respected before and since that. This is his book on probability, statistics, data, and their application to our lives. The next book is On the Map, A Mind-Expanding Exploration of the Way the World Looks by Simon Garfield. I personally think this book sounds so cool. It makes the claim that mapping has been just as important to human development as the development of language has been. I am really, really interested in that claim, and so I will be looking forward to reading this. There are also really cool maps in here, even the end papers, as though the major cities of the world were stops on a metro route. Pretty cool. I originally thought this next book was a work of fiction, but it's actually a piece of nonfiction, a memoir, and that's The Factory of Facts by Luc Sante. This is about a man who was born in Belgium, but then was brought over to the United States by his parents, and he goes back to Belgium in search of his family history and ends up learning more about the country of Belgium itself. I know very, very little about Belgium, so I think it would be fun to explore things about the country with him during his investigation. This next book was a gift from my mom for my birthday, and that's A Journey into Russia by Jens Mueling. I think that's how that's pronounced. I first heard about this book on Gemma from Nonfic Books' channel. I immediately had to put it on my wish list. It's about a man who's traveling through Russia, meeting Russian people, and learning more about the Russian dusha, or the soul. I cannot resist that. Plus, Chram Spas na Kravi, Church on the Spilled Blood, is on the cover. So beautiful. The next book is Balkan Ghosts, A Journey Through History by Robert D. Kaplan. I'm not just interested in Russia, I'm interested in the entirety of Eastern Europe and Western Europe too, but that's a different story. I think this book will give me an opportunity to learn more about a too often forgotten region of the world. This next book has been on my TBR for a really, really long time, and I could not resist picking it up when I saw it at a library book sale. That is Last Call, The Rise and Fall of Prohibition by Daniel Okrent. I've always been interested in Prohibition, but ever since reading The Poisoner's Handbook, which I raved about in my nonfiction recommendation video, I have been really interested to learn more. This one is quite a long one. I think it's going to be very, very in-depth. It looks like it has some really fantastic images inside of it. And on the cover, it said it was featured in a PBS documentary. So that would be a really good follow-up to watch after reading this. I'm excited about all of those, but I can't help but play favorites a little bit. This next one was a gift from my husband for my birthday. That is As If, an oral history of Clueless as told by Amy Heckerling, the cast and crew by Jen Chaney. This, of course, goes behind the scenes of the filming and then the legacy of the movie Clueless, one of the best movies of all time. I am so excited to tuck in with this book and either be listening to the movie at the same time or watch it before or after or in between or several times. I love that movie so much. Now we'll move on to the regular historical fiction, the first being Sunset and Sawdust by Jo R. Lansdale. This is about a woman named Sunset Jones, fabulous name, in Depression-era Texas. She kills her husband, then somehow becomes named constable. Then she starts investigating the murder of a pregnant woman and her unborn child. That sounds like so much fun. I love this cover, and I like badass ladies. The next book is The Book of Fires by Jane Borradaile. This has to be one of the most beautiful covers I have ever seen. There is gold within these fireworks. Can you see it shining? So spectacular, and the premise sounds equally as good. It centers around a 17-year-old pregnant girl who comes to London in order to figure out what she wants to do about this unexpected, unwanted pregnancy. She ends up becoming an assistant to a firework maker. So it sounds pretty interesting. The next book is called Lovers at the Chameleon Club, Paris, 1932 by Francine Prose. I feel like if your name is Francine Prose, you have to write a novel, or else that name is just wasted. From what I could gather, this is about a cross-dressing lesbian in Paris in the 1920s and 30s, and that's really all I needed to know. This next one I heard about somewhere on Book Riot, and I just could not resist it. It's called Goddess by Kelly Gardner. This is about a real woman who did exist, who went by the name La Maupin. She was the mistress of the horse master in the court of the Sun King. Then she runs off with her lover, who was also her fencing instructor. Then she falls in love with a nun, and then she becomes an opera star. She obviously had quite the life. I think this is going to make a fantastic story. I am sure that while I'm reading this and after I'm done with it, I will be using Google like crazy to find out as much as I possibly can about the amazing life that this woman led. The next book is called Sweet Dates in Basra by Jessica Gigi. This is set in 1940s Iraq, and a young Muslim girl falls in love with a young Jewish boy. So this, of course, is going to talk about love between cultures and the barriers that divide us. The next book I picked up is The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. This one is very well known by now. It was the 2013 winner of the Man Booker Prize. It's set in New Zealand. Judging by the weight and the length of it, it's going to take me quite a while to get through. So I thought that this one would be better to own versus getting it out from the library. I've been working really hard to get over this reluctance to get into Russian historical fiction because I'm really afraid it's going to contain inaccuracies that will upset me, but I'm just trying to give it a try anyway. And so I picked up Russian Winter by Daphne Kalote. This is about a former Russian ballerina who's now living in New England and is selling off her jewelry collection and is reminiscing about her former life in Russia as she does so. The last piece of historical fiction I picked up is another piece of Russian historical fiction, and that is The House of Special Purpose by John Boyne. This book centers around a man named Georgy who somehow ends up becoming the bodyguard for Tsarevich Alexei, who was the son of Nicholas II. He had hemophilia, so protecting him was a very big challenge and a matter of great importance. This book tells his story in the final years of Tsarist Russia. Now I'm going to talk about the classics I picked up, as well as two books that are related to the classics. I'm not really going to do any plot descriptions of these because they are classics. The first classic I picked up is Bride's Head Revisited by Yves Lenoir. I've been really wanting to read this, and I love this edition of it. I picked up Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Look at those homeboys lounging with self-importance. I love it. The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I'm going to be doing a buddy / group read of this with Michael from Knowledge Lost and Victoria from A Hermit's Progress. I'm going to link both of their channels down below. They're both fabulous. Please go check them out. I don't know if anybody else is going to be joining us for that buddy read / read along, but I hope more people do, because Russian literature. Because one can never have too many copies of Jane Eyre, I picked up this version, which is so beautiful. It's from the 1980s and it's still in fabulous condition, and it's illustrated. Look at this. So beautiful. The next two books are kind of classics related. The first is Romancing Miss Bronte by Juliet Gale. This is a fictionalization of Charlotte Bronte's life. It seems kind of becoming Jane-esque. I'm into it. I really like the story of the Brontes, especially Charlotte. The next is Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters by, of course, Jane Austen and then Ben H. Winters. Now that I've read Sense and Sensibility, I felt warranted in picking this one up. Although it seems like, again, in this book, Colonel Brandon is going to get crapped on probably more than usual. I think they make him into this sea monster. Poor Colonel Brandon. He's my favorite character in this book. And then I have 4 just miscellaneous fun books to show you as well. The first is a little book of Shakespearean insults for the office. I am soon going to be entering an office work environment once I am completed with my schooling. I'm very excited for it, so this may come in handy. One of my favorites in this one says, "You are as a candle, the better part burnt out." This next one is a graphic novel that was a gift from my husband for my birthday, called Rasputin, The Road to the Winter Palace. This is kind of an alternate history, as though Rasputin actually did have these powers that he claimed to have, and what he would have done with them given the chance. Again, it might piss me off, but I'm willing to try it. This next one I also found at a library book sale. It does not have a dust jacket. It's a book of Russian folk tales, but I've looked it up and this is actually what the cover looks like. It's an illustrated book of folk tales. This is an example of some of the illustrations. They are absolutely gorgeous. I could not resist this. I think this would make a really good choice for a readathon. And the last one is a very appropriate choice given today is National Cat Day, but it is called The Sophisticated Cat, a gathering of stories, poems, and writings about cats, compiled by Joyce Carol Oates and Daniel Halpern. Like the rest of the internet, I love cats. I especially love my cat, Theodora. I was really curious about this book, so I picked it up and turned it to a random page, which is something I do to see if I'm interested in a book when I'm at a library book sale. I turned to a random page and read this one passage and I immediately had to pick it up. And I've since found that passage so I could read it to you because it's amazing. This is the last stanza in a poem by Amy Lowell called Too Winky. It says, "Shall I choke you, cat, or kiss you? Really, I do not know." That pretty much sums up cat ownership. After reading that, I just had to pick this one up. It sounds like so much fun. There are so many things in here. This will be really, really fun to go through slowly, especially when we are in the process of adopting another cat in the near future. That was part 1 of this insane book haul. Sorry about the lighting going on. There are lots of clouds in the sky that are affecting my lighting. Keep an eye out for part 2, which I will be posting next week, which will again contain all of the regular fiction as well as the fantasy and science fiction books that I have picked up. If you would like to find me on social media, I'm on both Twitter and Instagram at @abookolive, and the link to my Goodreads is down below if you would like to be friends. Have a great day. I will see you in my next video.